Peace, peace. This your host, Selah Shalom, and this is the Cosmon Teachings in the words of Jehovah and his angel ambassadors from the Cosmon Bible, OAHSPE. And the topic of discussion today is called the grades and rates of mortals and angels. Now, and again here I'm going to be reading from the book I put together called The Timetables of Prophecy. And it's a chapter in here I got called the grades and rates of mortals and angels. And I'm going to explain what does the grades and rates mean. First, what are the grades? All mortals and angels are graded on earth and in heaven. The grades apply to both worlds. The grades start from grade 1 to grade 99. Grade 1 being the lowest grade, grade 50 is considered being balanced in the grades, and grade 99 is being the highest grade. What determines your grade is the labor you do for yourself and others. This is the foundation of the grades. A person who does things for himself only without doing anything for others is considered to be in grade 1, which is the lowest grade one can attain. So if you know anybody out there that's real selfish, they have a low grade, and the low grade is not a good thing. Now, a person who does things 50% for himself and 50% for others would be considered grade 50, being balanced in the grades. Now, a person who does things for others only without doing anything for himself is considered to be grade 99, which is the highest grade one can attain. These grades among mortals on earth have to do with the heavenly places they will inhabit after death. The heavens are made up of 3 different levels, as I stated in the previous vid, what and where is heaven. Starting with the first heaven, then the second heaven, then the third heaven, and then at the harvest times, the appointed times, to the emancipated heavens, etherea, outside the earth and its atmosphere. And the grades determine which of the 3 heavens you will rise to after death. Now, these grades among angels in heaven have to do with ascending up through the 3 heavens, starting from the first heaven, working their way up to the third heaven, and during the harvest times, being every 400 years within an arc cycle, you and your hosts will ascend as brides and bridegrooms with God, Lord God, and his lords by the Etherians who descend down at the appointed times. Now, so the purpose for both mortals and angels belonging to the earth and her heavens is to rise into the highest heavens, etherea. And the grades are the determining factor on how you get there. Now, what are the rates? The rates determine how long one will uphold his grade. A mortal or angel may have a grade of 25 and uphold that grade for 20 years, and then rise to grade 45 or 50 for another 20 years, and then raise to grade 75 for another 20 years. The rate upheld was 20 years. That's how you determine the rates, based upon the length of time one upholds his or her grade. This applies both to ascending and descending in the grades. It's no different than school. You may uphold that A+ from about second grade, first grade to about 5th grade, 4th grade. And then you may start getting B's on your report card. So you may upheld that A+ for 4 years. And this is just an example to show you how the grades and the rates work. You can see the same system in school. These things are really elementary. Now, Book of Judgment, chapter 12, verse 3 and 6. Verse 3, it states, "These are the grades of the resurrection of the souls of men." Verse 6, "I people the heavens of the earth with the spirits of the dead. According to their grade in their corporeal lives, so do I arrange them." So the Creator got this mapped out systematically, orderly. So according to your corporeal grade, when you're alive, that's going to determine where you will be placed after you die. Now, Book of Judgment, chapter 6, verse 1 through 9, it states, "Whether on earth or in heaven, the same rules apply unto both." Verse 2, "He that serveth himself one half, and serveth others one half, shall stand grade 50. Verse 3, "He that serveth himself 3/4, and others 1/4, shall stand at grade 25. He that serveth himself 1/4, and others 3/4, shall stand at grade 75. Verse 5, "He that serveth himself only shall stand at grade 1. Verse 6, "He that serveth others wholly shall stand at grade 99. Verse 7. And whosoever serveth accordingly, himself or others, shall stand in grade, even as his works manifest. Verse 8. To serve oneself is to work for oneself, to strive for oneself, to think for one's own self, as to what will profit one's own self. And a person who moves like this is considered the lowest in the grades. You have a very low grade because you're a selfish person. All you're concerned about is yourself. While you may have others around you starving, may need help, and you may have it, but you don't want to help out. You are considered the lowest, according to the grades. And when you cross over, you will find yourself in a place of the same grade. And grade 1 is the lowest grade. That's what is considered to be in hell. Now, verse 9. To serve others is to do good unto others, to help them, to teach them, to give them joy and comfort. This is the service of Jehovah. So here it gives you the foundation on how the grades are determined, based off what you do for yourself and what you do for others. Those who labor for self only, like I said, have the lowest grade. The person who labors for others wholly, denying himself in the process, carries the highest grade. This is how you determine where you will stand in the grades. And this is how the spirits of the dead are placed within the heavenly kingdoms based off the grades while on earth, while still alive on earth. And this is how the spirits of the dead are placed within the heavenly kingdoms based off the grades. So if you know a person that's constantly giving out what he has, if you ask him for $1, he give you 5. If he give you his last, a person like that is considered high in the grades. Now, here are the grades and ascension of the spirits after death according to the grades and rates. Book of Judgment, chapter 12, verse 17, it states, I feel not the air of the firmament with the angels scattered about, but I give unto them regions habitable and homelike, and I grade them suitable to the resurrection of the spirits of the dead. So this verse shows how the heavens are arranged based off the grades. Now, Book of Judgment, chapter 6, verse 11 through 9, it states, verse 11, After such manner in general are the grades of my heavens of the earth and atmosphere. Verse 12, Grade 1 is on the earth. Grade 50, midway between the earth and the emancipated heavens etherea. Verse 13, Grade 25 is 1/4 way up from the earth toward etherea. But grade 75 is 3/4 the way up towards etherea. And so on. Relatively, grade and place of ascent intermediately. Verse 14, But the grade 99 is the highest atmospherian grade, preparatory to the entrance into the company of the all-pure in spirit. So the grades of mortals and angels determine the place within the 3 heavens of the earth. Angels that carry a grade of 1 are angels that reside on the earth, inspiring mortals with their influences. And those who carry a grade of 75 to 99 reside in the 3rd heaven, becoming brides and bridegrooms with God, his Lord God and Lords, to ascend into the Etherian realms by the Etherian ships that will descend at the appointed harvest time. Now, verse 15, But good works alone are not sufficient to attain the highest grade, for they require knowledge and capacity to unfold others. So just being good is not going to get you there also. You know, you could be good, but you could be a dumb person at the same time. So at the same time, you got to be obtaining knowledge while doing good works. Now, verse 16, To accomplish which, those of the higher grade shall often return to the lower, and learn to lift them up. For this is that which calleth the Etherians in the times of resurrection. Verse 17, Wherein the righteous, who are yet mortal, begin at once lifting up their fellows. Verse 18, Which labor is to the spirit as exercise is to the mortal body, that which giveth strength. Verse 19, Judge then thyself, O man, of the earth, as to thy place thy spirit will rise in time of thy death. So here it gives the levels of ascension based off the grades. Grade 1 being the lowest grade, which heavenly place rests on the earth within the 1st heaven. So spirits that are in grade 1 are earthbound, not able to rise above the 1st heaven. Grade 50 which heavenly place starts within the second heaven or the second atmospheric region. These heavens are maintained by angels who labor for self and others equally, being balanced in the grades. Grade 99 being the highest grade is within the third heaven. Those angels who obtain these regions are those who labor for others wholly without considering self. All angels in this heaven maintain a grade of 75 to 99. And if a mortal obtain this grade while on earth, he or she will receive inspiration from angels in the third heaven. For whatever grade a person maintains, likewise will be his inspiring angel of the same grade. Now, the grades and rates of cities among mortals and angels. Just as individual grades are determined, the same rules apply to cities and nations. Book of Judgment, chapter 9, verse 1 through 9, it states, "Remember thy Creator and the magnitude of his creation. Before him thou art but an atom, and as only one small creature." Verse 2, "Nevertheless, a multitude of people make a nation, with cities and hamlets." Verse 3, "These are also graded by thy God, according to the ascendancy or the declination of the whole." Verse 4, "If a city, then the grade of all the people shall be summoned together in a scale of 100. Verse 5, "And if a nation, then the grade of the city and hamlets and of people of isolation shall be summoned together in a scale of 100. Verse 6, "And if the people are above grade 50 and half below grade 50, the grade of that people shall be 50. Verse 7, "If 1/4 only, then the grade of that people shall be 25. Verse 8, "On the basis of individual grades shall be the grades of a city and a nation." Verse 9, "And the behavior of a city or nation shall be graded in the same way, after the manner of an individual." So here are the breakdown of the grades of cities and nations. If a nation of people is in grade 1, so will be the inspiring host of angels of that city. But in the same grade, grade 1, an earthly or heavenly city that has a low grade will be a city that will be in warfare, rioting, and anarchy. Such are the behavior of those in the lowest grades. The lower the grade, the more you have warfare, rioting, and anarchy on earth and in heaven. The higher the grade, the more you have peace, harmony, and unity and order in earth and in heaven. So these are basically the tables of prophecy. So when you look at different parts of the earth and you see different nations in warfare, you could see that these angels are of low grade. And when you look at another part of the earth and you see people harmonious, moving together in peace, you know that they are inspired by higher graded angels. And this is how you could begin to determine the grades and rates of angels, the rise and fall of nations, based off these grades and rates. And this is part of the timetables of prophecy that OAHSPE renders up. Now, Book of Judgment, chapter 9, verse 12, 13, 16, 17, 19, 20, and 21 and 22. Verse 12, "And yet another nation maintained a standing army in order to maintain itself. That nation stood in grade 1 only. So with all the mighty weaponry that all the nations have on the earth, they only stand in grade 1, which is the lowest grade." Verse 13, "The place of this last nation in entrance into the spirit world shall be grade 1, which is the animal region, which is on the earth." So all those who pursue and maintain standing armies, warfare, their spirits when they cross over shall maintain being on the earth instead of rising in the higher heavens. Verse 16, "As these grades are on earth, so have I made them in the heavens thereof, in all cases depending on what one doeth for the resurrection of others." Verse 17, "If a city or nation or a kingdom in heaven do unto others in resurrection, then shall that nation be graded accordingly." Verse 19, "But if they increase in raising individual grades, then are such cities and nations rising in grade." Verse 21, "Consider not its wealth, nor its ships, nor its armies, nor its great buildings. These altogether are only one grade, and are of no value as to the spiritual grade of its people." So all this materialism that you see that they glorify has no place in the spirit realm. And if you get caught up and worship these things and idolize these things, and be bound to these things, when you cross over, your spirit will be graded in one, being on the earth, engrafting yourself on other individuals because you still have these desires. Now, verse 22, for the strength and life of thy nation depends on its spiritual grade. Pursue this, and thou shalt prophesy truly as to the growth or the downfall of a nation. So here is the blueprint to determine the rise and fall of nations, based off ascending and descending in the grades and rates, which is the length of time a city or nation upholds its grade before ascending or descending. This is how you will be able to determine how and when a nation will fall in destruction or rise to power. Now, you have a lot of people who use the term Satan, the devil, the evildoers and all this. All those are titles bestowed on angels who are low in the grades. Like the Hebrew word for Satan, Hasatan, the Satan, just means deceiver, an opposer. So anybody that opposes or deceives is considered Satan. It's a characteristic not to be confused with the actual individual or single person. Now, the angels and mortals that are below the grades. The hells on earth among mortals are warfare, crime, murder, rioting, and all unlawful acts against humanity. The hells in heaven among angels are warfare, rioting, anarchy against other angels and other heavenly kingdoms. The same rules apply to both. Now, Book of Judgment chapter 6 verse 10. But there are some who are below the grades, who seek to do evil, who seek to make others unhappy, who delight in crime and pollution. These, if mortal, shall be called drunks, and if spirit, shall be called drugers. This is the behavior of mortals and angels that are lowest in the grades. Both on earth and in heaven the same rules apply. Book of Judgment chapter 4 verse 11 through 13 it states, but of such as are below grade 1 there are more than 6,000 millions. That's 6 billion, which compromiseth such angels as knowing nothing more than babies, though for the most part they were full-grown adults as to earth life. Some are fetals, some engrafters, being professional reincarnators, who dwell with one mortal during his lifetime and then engraft themselves on another mortal during his lifetime, and so on, calling themselves reincarnated, and in fact knowing no other heavens, being disbelievers in the all-person and in my exalted kingdoms. Verse 12. Such as are below grade 1, I have classified this day as drugers, because they have not left the earth and entered the first resurrection. Verse 13. They inhabit mostly the oldest cities and places of filth and indecency. Nevertheless, they also inhabit the palaces of kings and queens and emperors and popes and priests and rich men. So here it shows you that the doctrine of reincarnation is a doctrine by angels of low grade. Those people who preach and teach reincarnation are under the influence or inspiration of angels of the lowest grades, because those in the lowest grades are earthbound spirits. The Creator's way is upward and outward toward the highest of heavens, the emancipated regions, etherea. So for any mortal or angel to preach and teach reincarnation is hindering the progression through the grades to inherit the emancipated mansions in the Creator's kingdom, being his universes. This is a general breakdown of the grades and rates of mortals and angels, individually and socially, that determines the rise and fall of earthly and heavenly kingdoms. Now I'm going to leave it out on this note. Book of Judgment chapter 13 verse 34 and 36. Verse 34. Remember, O man, these are the lessons of thy Creator, which he give unto thee, to learn to master the elements of thy surrounding. Verse 36. This is the beginning of thy resurrection, and thou shalt be thy own judge and master. Prophecy is not guesswork. Absolute rules govern all things. And with that, I'd like to say peace and blessings, and catch you on the next documentary called The Primary Education of the First and Second Heaven. Shalom.